guys, it's Carolyn. Welcome back to the podcast, and I'm very excited to talk about today's idea of coaching with an expert in the area. So today I have Randy Stanbury. I'm sorry, I did it incorrectly. Who is a serial entrepreneur, owner of Four Level Coach, Amazon best-selling books, has all the experience. He's going to tell us all the reasons why we should get a coach and what and the things we can do with a coach. Good morning, Randy. How are you?
I'm great. Thank you. And thanks for having me. It's great.
No, thank you for being here. So before we dive into all these great things, tell us a little bit about yourself. They'll edit that out. Tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got to where you are now.
Yeah, interesting. I started my first business in 95. At that time I was 25 years old. I spent a year and a half prior to that preparing for it. For whatever reason, I just had this, the entrepreneurial gene that I just, that's all I could think about from the time I was a teenager on. And, so I was able to get that going. But one of the things I think that made me kind of a little bit different from the start is that I just didn't go out and start the business. I figured out some things that I did not know that I had to figure out before I even got going. So I took small business courses and I took, some accounting and understood the numbers and really kind of did that before. Now, here's the truth. I knew very little at that point. And, by 1998, by 98, I knew enough to know I didn't know nearly enough. And so I went and got my first business coach, and we're going to talk a little bit about, coaching and how a business coach helps us. And at the end of the day, by 2007, I had myself completely removed from that business. It was a growing, scaling business that I had all the right people in place. I removed myself with a president, had a vice president in place, had all the management layers. And really, I was able to remove myself for the next 10 years as that business went on and grew and scaled without me. And I mean, without me not working in it one day over those 10 years. Well, I went and built and scaled a couple of other businesses. And so when I sold that business in my core original business in 2017, I realized that I had actually pulled off something that was a little bit unique and a little bit special. And at the end of the day, I didn't really realize it through my journey, but realized it at the end and said, you know what, I have to share this, with, builders and remodelers who want the same thing. And now our business has been built not on, me reading a book and figuring out how to become a business coach, but doing it in my own businesses over the years and sharing exactly what I've done.
So why do you think it's important, especially in the construction industry, that business owners have coaches?
Well, I think, and I know we're going to dive into this book, but we have I think it's right here. It all lies in the 10 reasons why builders and remodelers fail to grow and scale their business. And when we understand these 10 reasons, that's why we exist. It's to, really help understand the things we don't know, because we have blind spots, right? Again, by 98, I realized I knew enough to know I didn't know nearly enough. Well, it was a whole bunch of stuff that we just don't know what we don't know. And so we're out there every day trying to, deal with the hundreds of moving parts in our business. And as builders, remodelers, to me, this is an industry that has more complexity in it than most, right? It's extremely difficult to have happy clients through the entire process, then create a client experience that they love, to do it at a profitable dollar amount where you can be competitive enough to close deals. And we're going to get into maybe the sales system as well, because this thing will help you close more deals at higher price points. But the truth of the matter is you need to bring these 10 reasons together. And that's why we exist, to bring what we don't know to the table. And then once we uncover those things, we can start to take off like a rocket. Now, the truth of the matter is when we talk about coaching, there's no professional athlete on the planet that doesn't have a coach or a team of coaches and trainers that have helped them become the peak athlete that they are, right? Or sports team, or, but we don't tend to do it in our business as much, although I think it's becoming a bit more mainstream, right? We're hearing about it a lot more. It's becoming a bit more common. So I can't imagine I would have had a portion of the success that I pulled off without doing that in 98. And then I've had business coaches all my life, still do, and always will. I don't believe that there is a level that we get to and achieve and we've made it. there's always level beyond where we are.
So while we're here, why don't we dive into some of those 10 reasons why these companies fail, specifically construction businesses?
Yeah, and here's the interesting thing about when we say the word fail, because to me, in this industry, we can survive a very
Hmm.
long time because we can
Yes.
generate enough cash flow to, make us a nice income, make us a decent living. In fact, it can be a very good living, but we fail to grow and scale. And it's the
Yep.
growing and scaling that will create us a fortune and not just a living. Right. So to me, we have a winning lottery ticket in our pocket. Every builder remodeler on the planet does, because there is enormous opportunity out there if we can capitalize on it.
Yeah.
And very few will ever get the formula right to capitalize on cashing in their lottery ticket. Right. And why we exist is to help you do that. So getting into the 10 reasons. Reason number one, and I believe it all starts with vision, right? If we don't know where we're going, if we're not clear about where we want to go, how the hell do we know what we should be doing today? Honestly, other than getting up and doing what the business is going to, suck us into the vortex of what it needs to do.
Yeah.
Right. And so therefore we don't move the needle towards where we want to go because we haven't really established where that is. So it's like taking a road trip when any old road will do because we don't have a destination and we drive around in circles. Well, let's not drive around in circles in our business. Let's get very clear about where we're going. And to me, that's the first reason. It's kind of like a foundational reason, right? If we can get that in place, we can also then reverse engineer that, get some 12-month goals in place with a vision of 3 to 5 years, know what our 12-month goals are, reverse engineer that to, well, if that were to be true, what are we going to do in the next 90 days?
So let me ask you, well, before we go on to any more, most business owners know we're just in it to try to keep the doors open. So how do you get somebody to create that vision? That's like, especially if you've never thought about it before, how do you help them create that?
Well, that is a great question. One, we have, tools and systems to do that, right? So we actually run sessions every quarter, every 90 days to relook at our vision. So we have quarterly focus sessions. We actually do it over a 2-week period because I believe where we're going and what we're doing is extremely important to get dialed in every 90 days. And then let's create that 90-day game plan. So we have tools to do that. But some of it is the fact that it won't be perfect when we first do it. It's going to be 90 days later, we're going to get better at it. We're going to evolve at it. We're going to get clear about what we want. We're going to have momentum in our business if we're doing the right things right over the last 90 days. We've got momentum that we never had before. And now we start seeing new possibilities. So the vision evolves, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you're getting shit done, the business and your vision will evolve.
Absolutely.
So I don't think it's about being perfect or getting that 100% right. It's about getting started, taking some action, getting some momentum, and building on that over, the quarter by quarter in our year.
Well, yeah, because everybody's goals might be different. Somebody might want to stay small and just make more money, or some people want to
Right.
scale and sell. I think
Right.
if you've never even thought about it before, that just sounds like an overwhelming idea. I don't know where the hell I'm going.
Right.
I just gotta make payroll.
Right. And the trouble with that, right? The obvious trouble with that, if we're just trying to make payroll, then let's just get up and do what we have in front of us. And it's what we're being pulled to do because we're stuck in urgent. Because everything we do is typically in urgent. We need to get ourselves out of urgent into the more important that's going to move the needle. And moving the needle is going to get us to where we want to go. And we need to start doing that on a consistent basis and use the compound effect to get us some exponential growth, which is then starting to layer in what we actually need to do, which is getting into the rest of these 10 reasons as soon as we get that dealt with, right? And the next reason, like by far 100%, and I don't think it's to any fault of any builder remodeler out there, but the truth is typically we get into this field as owners because we're very talented and we have a skill and we've been doing this for someone else, so we fall into this, but we never had any real business background or business education, business, we call it business savvy, right? So when we lack business savvy, it's extremely difficult to start putting the pieces together to start building towards our vision. It's near impossible if we don't have that business savvy. So a lot of what we do in our coaching program and why we get business coaches is to just start helping for you to become a true entrepreneur and business owner, as opposed to having a job in your business, let's say.
Yeah. Mm.
Right. When we have a job in our business, we call that level 1, the 4 levels of business. Level 1 is a job in your business. Level 2 is creating a small business, right, with some management layers in place. Level 3 is scalable. Level 4 is sellable. Our job is to get you from levels 1 and 2 to 3 and 4, and we can't do that without business savvy. I don't believe there's no business out there that has an owner sitting in the seat that's a scalable business that doesn't have business savvy behind them, that they're truly the entrepreneur and no longer the technician or the skill in their business.
No, I think it's all steps of you start it because you're really good at it and you don't realize very quickly you're not doing that thing anymore. You have to do other things so other people can do that thing.
Right.
It gets very complicated.
And being really good at it is what you do.
Yeah.
What we help you with is not what you do so much, because you're already really good at that. Let's figure out how you do what you do to create an experience that gets you the results.
Gotcha.
Right?
So
It's
give
really
me some
quite
more
simple. Next reason, financial
Mhm.
literacy. It's the lack of financial literacy. And it's really those two, that business savvy and financial literacy. Once we get those two, everything else becomes possible. And financial literacy is knowing your numbers, understanding your numbers of your business, understanding how the numbers work to make better business decisions. And when we can make better decisions based on our numbers in our business, because we understand the financial side, we can start pricing for real profit. We can start generating some profit that's going to be able to, take us to the next reasons why we can't get there. Right. And so when we combo the vision, the business savvy, and financial literacy, it's really the foundation that starts the rest of it. And until those are in place, it's real hard.
So numbers, everybody's always freaked out about numbers. What you're talking about, do I have to go back to school to learn, or is it something, I can understand with a high school education? How does that work?
Yeah, I love that. You can understand it with no high school education, right? We break it down as simplistically as possible. In fact, we get comments constantly about, look, I've been trying to figure out the financials and I hate the numbers in my business for years, but you've made it so simple in your breakdown that I finally get it. And really, it is quite, we have a module just on financials and pricing, and those 2 modules of content is simply, you will leave with financial literacy after those 2 modules. And we're only talking a few hours of content, but it's just simplified to break down. And everything that we do, by the way, and I think this is important, is for custom home builders and remodelers, or spec builders and remodelers, that, look, we're helping. Everything that we're doing is related to the work that you do to understand your numbers based on, and there is, like, even understanding your financials. When the financials are a mess in our business, or they're not allocated properly, then they're giving you data that you can't make good decisions on anyway. So half of what we do is then work with you when you understand the information, then work with you to get it right in your team, and have your bookkeeper allocating things properly so you can actually use the information properly.
I know. I think so many people are afraid of the numbers that once they get in it, they can't believe how simple it actually is. And I think they're still getting it wrong, because it really, once you take the time to dive into it, yes, it's complicated, but once you dive into it, you can understand it. Everybody's just so afraid of it. So once they'll take the time, like for years, I didn't look at my books because I felt underqualified to know what they meant.
Right. Well, and sometimes we're scared to look at them because we know they're not great, or we know that we don't even want to see the story they're going to tell us.
Because we know, honestly, the hard work is going to have to take to change that.
Right.
I
think
think
here's the truth. This is the hardest working industry on the planet. So they're already working hard. You're already working hard out there. We know that. But so let's not have you working harder. Let's just have you working smarter by understanding this stuff. And I'm telling you, as soon as you understand it, it's it's the stuff that we don't know. And once that we get the blinders off and we see it, it's like, it's like a whole new world opens up about, oh, this all makes sense. And now we can actually price for real profit. And again, we have formulas for pricing to remove guesswork, right?
Yeah.
We need to remove all the guesswork from the pricing, because The pricing is actually a simple formula if you understand the connection to the financials and how to make money, and the only 4 ways to increase profit. So again, when we get through those first three components of the 10 reasons, we can start getting into the next reasons.
Okay.
And
Go
you
into
know,
this.
the truth is, all the way through this book, and when we get diving in deep, right? When we go through vision and business savvy and financial literacy, the next thing is about the lack of pricing mastery, which we already covered, right? We just kind of got into pricing mastery a little bit. But once we have financial literacy, we can have pricing mastery. And without pricing mastery, we're just pricing jobs to compete in the market to someone else in the business that do not know their numbers.
Exactly. And like if you're not making a profit, you're basically paying somebody else to go to work.
Correct.
You're
And
better
what's
off
the
sitting at
point?
home. Yeah, exactly.
Sometimes I say, guys, if you knew your numbers and the pricing, you'd be better off to write that client that you're talking to, the potential new client, give them
A check.
$1,000 right now. Would be cheaper than quoting this job and doing it.
I agree.
Right. So now, but we just need to understand the formula behind this stuff. So that's what business coach is supposed to be doing, is giving you the tools and the formulas and the structure and the content to remove all this guesswork, make things simple. Let's not recreate the wheel. I've done this since 95 to now. We've figured out some things along the way that we can share with you. The next one is about the lack of time mastery.
Oh,
So we're
yes.
not leveraging our time, right? And here's the thing: if we can't get the pricing and the money right, then we can't build teams, because we won't be able to afford the right people. And what we end up doing when we don't have the money right, we got to throw people at our problem because we need more people, but we'll get C players and not A players because we can't seem to afford. It's like, well, I can't afford to pay them that. Well, you can't afford to pay them because you don't understand your numbers and the pricing. And so therefore, it's just this compounded effect of where it leads to. And this is why these 10 reasons, when we get rid of this and we sort through this, it actually starts becoming, much simpler. Still not
Mhm.
super easy in the process, because it is a
Yeah.
process, but it's time. We all have the same 24 hours in a day. I have a stake in, a dozen different businesses across the country, and I can do that every day with the same 24 hours because of how I use my time today. Now, I promise you, that's not how I use my time in, 95 to 98 while I was trying to figure this out, or up to 2007 when I did figure it out. Right. So it's just a matter of getting the right things right in the right order, honestly.
So how do you create more time? How do you create more hours in a day, or how do you better manage your time?
I love that. So again, we have systems for everything, right? So we have what we call our time finder system. If we're trying to find more hours in a day, we need to literally get in and find, what are you currently doing? How are you using your time? And then we have a system for flushing that out, seeing if you're working on or in your business. Are you, what quadrant of urgent versus important are you working in? And right away, I mean, we just did this last night with a group of new builders, and I mean, the light bulbs go off immediately about, holy shit, I never work on my business. I'm always in it. I'm always focused in, quadrant, 1 and 3, which are urgent. And when I'm stuck in
Mhm.
urgent, it's pretty obvious why I can't seem to get to the next level, right? Because I am sucked into the vortex of this business constantly. Now, when I throw more people at my problem without systems before people, we run into more problems. It creates more chaos, frustration, and overwhelm. And we didn't free ourselves up of time. We just cost ourselves more time with more complexity of people. So the whole truth, one of the 10 reasons, is systems, because we don't have systems and training in place to manage and help our teams grow and develop.
So you mentioned, I just want you to dive into this a little more. Working on versus in your business. What does
Love it.
that
Yeah.
mean?
So, I mean, quite simply, when we're working in the business, these are all task oriented stuff that is stuck in urgent. It's dealing with the problems, the issues, the client requests, pricing jobs, all of that stuff is what we need to delegate out, free ourselves from. That's the stuff and the task oriented stuff that it keeps the business churning. It's got to happen. but it
Hmm.
can't be us as entrepreneurs and owners if we ever want to grow and scale. Right. So to grow and scale, we need to work on the business. Working on the business is outside of the urgent quadrant into the important quadrant, which is where we are, we're creating the systems, we're creating, and it's like, look, we're also business owners aren't typically the systems creator.
Hmm.
We need the right people on our team to work with us and build that team. So there's some strategic roles that we need to grow and scale properly, because we're not typically the creator. We're also not the one to keep people accountable. We're the ones
Yeah.
that need to be kept accountable typically, right? Am I right?
Yes. Of working on the important stuff and not working in the business, because that
Right.
fire over there is very attractive compared to what I need to get done over here.
Well, and here's the truth of the fire. The fire is what I'm comfortable with, because that's what I'm used to doing. That's my comfort level is in the fire, right? That's what I'm comfortable with. That's what I know. Now, working on the business, we often scratch our head and what would I be working on anyway? Right. So
Yeah.
when I'm not in the fire, I'm very uncomfortable. And now I'm in this uncomfort zone. And I promise you, if you are not in the uncomfortable, you are stuck in the comfort zone, and comfort will never get you to where you want to go.
No, I know. Change only comes through pain. Yes, yes.
and
All right, so
it,
what's the next
Yeah. So next one, I mean, we talked a little bit about systems already. And that literally does come after time, because we can't fire people at this without some system. We always talk systems before people. When we add the systems and we're starting to think about proper training, now let's think about developing and building our team out. So it's the lack of what we refer to as team mastery. And it's not just, throwing people at building a team. It's not just let's get the next person. It's a strategic plan, a growth plan of the right people in the right seats, doing the right things with the right systems and training. Because as soon as we don't train people properly, right, they're doing stuff that we get frustrated that they're not doing the way you want it done. We get pissed off, but really we haven't given them the tools to be successful yet. Right.
I know, but we think they should know what we know, right? If they're coming into this business to that job, they should just know what we know and do what, you know.
Right. And,
I
and,
went through
and,
the whole
and
step.
even if
Yeah.
they come from a background of this industry and they have experience, often that experience is still not the way you want to operate or should be operating your business. So I don't care, even if they have great experience and in what they do, we still need to train them into our way of running our business,
All
our
right.
way of doing what we do.
So that's overwhelming. How do you
Yes.
like creating like I can't even talk just thinking about it. It makes me so overwhelming trying to create systems and processes for everything. So
Right.
how do you do that, or how do you start that, or do you outsource it, or what does that look like?
Oh man, this is so on point, because it is overwhelming. We refer to it always as we're trying to eat an elephant here. There's only one way to do that, literally one bite at a time. So we have to think about, this is why we have a vision, because the vision is going to help us say, well, if that's where I want to go, I now actually know what I should be doing in the next 90 days because I've flushed this out. I've reverse engineered. Now I know that. Well, I reverse engineer my 90 down to what I should be doing this week. And I can, of course, what I'm doing this week tells me what I should do today. Now I know what I do today, and I just need to take one bite of the elephant this week. And what is that bite I need to take? And I focus on that. Now, when we talk about systems, the first thing that I always go to with systems, because everybody wonders, where do I start? Well, I say, let's start with what we refer to as IRCs. It's the issues, roadblocks, and challenges. And when we have the issues, roadblocks, and challenges, let's take the biggest impactful one that we have. It's going to move the needle the most, whether it's money. If money is not right, there's your first
Yeah.
effing system that we need to be focused on, because the money has to get right before anything else. Right. And so let's start moving the needle with impacting where our biggest challenges are in our business that are creating us the most time, the most, money, what's ever sucking out, leaking cash. I believe we're leaking cash. I know we're leaking cash because I have a program that we help people find the leaks in the boat, because ultimately we need to find the leaks in the boat and take the biggest leaks first,
Yep.
patch that up with the system that's going to change the game, reduce or at least limit or eliminate that leakage altogether so we can take the next one on, and it's eating the elephant. And our program is structured and set up that we meet each week to make sure we're focused on the right bites in the right order at the right time so that we remove overwhelm, because overwhelm will have you stuck, frozen.
Yeah,
Right?
absolutely.
Nothing happens. So really, our program is all about giving you all of the tools you need, giving them to you in the right order and the right bites, and then working with you week to week to flush them out so you don't get overwhelmed. And everyone is different, right? Everyone coming from a different place in their business and a different level. And, so your bites might be very different than the next. And so let's just make sure we understand your world and give you the right bites so you're not overwhelmed. So that's part of the process for sure. This is also why, how do you do this on your own without some structure and a system around just growing your business?
Yeah. You get lost.
It's very difficult. It took me 9 years to figure it out. I can help people do it now in a year. Like, it's very different.
Yeah.
And that's why really we exist, is to, speed up the time. It's to expedite your time to success. Right. And I always say, whether you resonate with us or you resonate with someone else, getting the help that we need is extremely important. Now, if you like what we do, great. If you found somebody else, great. Whatever works for you, to who you resonate, because I think you have to resonate with the person that you work with, because they're a trusted, valued partner in your success. Right. So that's a pretty critical piece. We got into systems, we got into team. Now, once we get the systems, the time, and the team right after our foundation of vision, business savvy, and financial literacy, now we can roll into where we get into our key metrics. Now we have to be able to track and measure what the heck's going on in our business. So the team that we built and the systems that we're using, is it working or not working? Are we measuring our results and success? Because if we do not measure, you cannot improve what you don't measure. Right. Yeah. So when we do measure, we can improve. So now let's tweak these things along the way. And once we get those things in place, we lead into the last two. And the last two is all about creating what we refer to as the two as a combination of a client acquisition machine. Now, why haven't I talked about an acquisition machine yet? Because I don't want you firing a whole bunch of new people and without getting the money right and the people right and your vision right. Right. And so often we're trying to grow our business before we're actually prepared to take it somewhere.
Yeah. You need to build the machine before you add money, people and jobs to it.
Why go get more work if you're underpricing jobs, or you can't be effective or efficient, or you have leakage of cash in your operation? Right. If your operation is just costing you cash every day, and we just fire more work at it, and the cash just keeps going out the back door as we try to build more, we're never going to get there. So again, these are all the reasons that we fail to grow and scale. And until we can get these reasons synced up and working together, it's near impossible. It is impossible, because it just doesn't work any other way. I mean, this is quite simply the formula to success, and you have to have these things in play. Now, the client acquisition machine is made up of two parts, and those two parts are simply number 9 and number 10 reason. Number 9 is a marketing machine, and number 10 is a sales machine, which we refer to as our sales system. And we have our sales system book that ultimately creates that machine. We're also writing the next book in the marketing machine, because the marketing and sales have to come together. Right? We have to be getting consistent, predictable new opportunities that we can close at higher price points with a sales system that can increase our price point. When we understand our numbers and we understand how and what that looks like, we're forced to sell at a higher price point, because we know stuff that we can't avoid now. And that's how to be profitable and grow. Right. So
let me throw you
that all syncs together.
Yeah. Let me throw you kind of a curveball, because I know that builders sometimes and remodelers sometimes have issues with consistency of work coming in.
Sure.
And so some of the things I've seen some of my clients do are like a maintenance program, some kind of subscription pricing.
Sure.
That is a flat monthly fee, whether that's like, if you did the exterior painting, monthly or quarterly cleaning the house or something like that. Mm-hmm. Is that anything you've seen in your business, or do you think that you could build that into a remodeler, a new home builder easily?
Yeah, I mean, it can be in terms of a maintenance program after a builder is done. I think
Yeah.
there is a piece of that. Um, but here's the challenge with that is you have to get your core business right first before
Gotcha.
you add another layer of complexity, right?
Gotcha.
I'm all for the next layer of complexity. That's how I've built my own, success has been on the back of the next business that combines very nicely with the other business. But I can't do that until I get the core right. So 100%, I'm completely on board with yes, that can be extremely beneficial. You get into a maintenance program, I love it. But
Mm,
that maintenance program, if I got to understand my numbers and how that works before I just throw something at that's not profitable, that just adds complexity.
yeah. Gotcha. Well, this is all good stuff. We're not even going to have time to get into the second book, which so we'll have you kind of come on for another
Sure,
episode
I'd
to
love
talk about,
to.
the sales and the secret of getting more jobs at higher prices, because I'd love to talk about that some more. But I
Critical.
think I think you're right. Before you can even get there, that these are the foundational pieces.
Yeah,
You know.
please, guys, don't go out and try to, add a bunch of marketing dollars that you're not closing at the right close rate or at the right dollar per job until you get some of the foundational pieces in place. That just makes sense. And until you do that, growth and scalability is always, you're going to hit a ceiling and it's always going to be
Yeah.
tough.
All right. So if somebody wanted to find out more about you and your coaching, where would they go?
Go to the number 4 level coach. So 4levelcoach.com. We have a number of different programs at depending on what your level of your business is. In annual revenue and sales is sort of kind of how we break it down. So there's different price points. 10 million plus all the way down to 0 to a million and all in between. And so you can go to 4levelcoach.com. You can email me, Randy, at the number 4levelcoach.com. I'm happy to help in any way that we can if you're serious about growth and scalability.
Awesome. And I'll give you a link to read book, and so we can talk about the next book on sales and
Fabulous.
make
Love to do
profitability.
that. Awesome.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Cheers.